Hey everyone, and welcome back to Small Screen Sagas. I'm your host, Nicole, and today I'll be talking about from Season 1, Episode 10, entitled, Oh, the Places We'll Go. Great season finale. First season finale of the show, of the series. I liked it, especially with the bus coming at the end. It does not disappoint. I'm excited. Let's go ahead and get into it. We'll talk about Season 1, Episode 10, and then we'll move on to Season 2, probably starting tomorrow. I will note that this format that I'm doing, I like it. It's quick, it's easy. To me, it covers still the whole series or the whole show, the whole episode. So I originally thought I was going to do longer episodes for Season 2. And if it calls for it, sure. But I'm not going to just talk just to be talking. So I think I will keep that same format. And of course, if it goes longer than 20 minutes, whatever the case, let's just see where it goes. But I think I am going to keep this same format for Season 2. And hopefully then I'll start also getting some listener letters. And I would love to hear from you guys. If you've listened to the podcast, hit me up, host@theverexin.com. If you're thinking, other people write in, no one's writing in. Go ahead. There's plenty of space for emails for you to send in. All right, let's go ahead and get started then with Kenny and Kristi. Kenny pretty much tells Kristi his undying love for her. No, but he shows her the light globe thing, and he says, he shows her the list of all the places he wanted to visit. I did like that nod to like the CVS receipt. It was on a very long receipt, and Kristi says, oh yes, the drugstore receipt. They probably didn't want no smoke from CVS, so they didn't outright say CVS, but it definitely was a CVS receipt. So Kenny tells her all these different cities or countries he wants to visit once he leaves here. And they settle kind of on Iceland, and they kind of have this conversation. And Kristi goes like, I like you a lot, but I have a fiance at home, and I'm hoping she's waiting for me back at home. And later on, when Kenny comes up to her, he goes, I hope I didn't make things awkward between us. I don't want things weird. And she goes, no. She's like, she's just conflicted because on one hand, it's the girl that she thought she was going to marry. And then now she's met an amazing guy in the most horrible place ever. So she's conflicted. She's feeling conflicted right now as far as her feelings go. I think Kenny at least appreciated hearing that he was in the running. Like, yeah, she does like you. It's not that she doesn't like you. It's just that she's engaged or was engaged prior to getting here. So I think that boosted Kenny's spirits a little. Then we have Jade. He's kind of all over the place. He's with Jim and his family. Then he's with Miss Lou. But originally we see him with Jim, his family. And I like that Julie tells Jade, like, don't call my dad teacup. Like, stop with that teacup nonsense. I don't even get the reference. And I guess the reference actually is, like, it's kind of silly because Jim says he's an engineer for theme parks. So I guess Jade is making fun of him for building, like, the teacup set. But, like, let's not dismiss Jim's job. Like, who would know how to work those sets? Like, that's a pretty important job. You can't just throw a ride up and just be willy-nilly. I mean, we see what happens when that happens, But these long place rides such as Disney parks or any of the real theme parks, like, that's a serious job. You have a lot of people's hands in your lives in your hand. So I would say it's a serious job. So I appreciated Julie like saying, shut up with that teacup nonsense or whatever. But when Jade goes back to the Mrs. Lou and Kenny's house to get a smoke, or at least that's what he says he's getting, I think he was kind of just tripping and he was starting to doubt himself. He came up with this big plan and showed them how, like, the blow dryer can hook up. And even though it's technically not plugged in, that it's hooked up and the wires connect so it still comes on. So I feel like he's now getting a little nervous because it's coming so close to seeing if his plan actually works out. However, when he goes back home and sees Miss Lou and she's over there still mourning her husband and everything like that, and he tells her, like, hey, I know you're sad because you're going to miss him and you're not going to be able to technically bring him with you when we leave, But I grew up with my grandma until I was 12. When I was 12, she died. And at the airport, I was telling this lady about how sad I was and everything like that. And she said, they come with you when you go. So he's like, don't be sad or, don't feel guilty. He'll come with you when you go. And I liked it because Miss Lou understood what he was getting at. And it just showed that human side of Jade that we haven't really seen before. He always just seems like he's out for self. He just wants to get out of town, which I can't blame him. But it was a nice moment to see Jade that way. All right, so Tabitha's digging her hole. She's like very serious about it, right? She's digging away. She steps away for a moment to see everything happening with the radio. But she goes back to digging. And when, at the end of the episode, when the ceiling caves in and the floor of the living room caves in and everything like that, and she falls down, and out of all the people to see is Victor. Victor's there. And he tells her, the boy in white says, you were come, and here you are. And we need to leave from here because this is where they sleep. He's talking about the monsters. This is where the monsters sleep. This is very important. There's drawings on the wall. He's like, they draw just like me. So there's drawings on the wall, and that symbol that that symbol that Jade keeps seeing is on that wall. So that's very important to note. Now, Tabitha's seen the wall and she's seen the symbol if she can remember that. She's under stress right now. Victor see the symbol. Hopefully he will remember this, and him, Jade, and Tabitha can have a conversation about it later, the significance of it, if they can trade anything. I don't know at this point what Tabitha knows more than Jade. She sees the symbol, but it's not like she knows more information. So we'll see where that goes. And I appreciate that Victor, the Matthews family has been very mean to Victor. Besides Ethan, everyone else has cussed Victor out or treated him like dirt since they got there. So now they're both relying on his help. When I say both, I meant Julie relied on his help to leave the colony house. Now Tabitha's relying on his help to get out of this dungeon that they're in, the sleeping quarters of these monsters. And technically, he has helped Ethan as well. He's given Ethan answers, even if no one else is paying attention to anything that Ethan's talking about. He has given Ethan some information. So we'll see if next season he helps Jim out. And speaking of Jim, he has been very focused and very determined to get this radio working, to get a connection. So when all hope feels lost, Donna's like, let's turn it in. We got to come in. A storm is coming. We saw the storm out in the woods with Sara and Boyd. And now the storm is just coming as well into the town, to the colony house. She's like, we got to get in or this thing's going to fall off. We're going to die out here. So let's get inside. And Jim is about to give up. He's like, fine. And that's when we get a man on the radio. He knows Jim's name. He knows Jim's full name. And he tells him, hey, your wife, Tabitha, she shouldn't be digging that hole. Now, I know I mentioned Lost before, but I have to just say, this felt very Lost heavy. There's a scene in Lost. I watch Lost every 5 to 6 years. Every few years I watch it, rewatch the whole series. But there's a scene similar to this where they're on a radio trying to get a hold of help. And I swear a voice comes on, and I swear it's the same voice. I'm like, I think I know who it is. It's like one of the others, quote unquote, from Lost that's on that radio, if I remember correctly. I don't know, just something about this scene with the man coming on the radio. I was like, did this not happen in Lost too? Like where the person gets on the radio and you think it's just a random person that's like you're calling out for help, but no, it's actually like the others. So what if there's the others on the island? Like the others have figured out how to keep the monsters away and they're like, y'all deal with them. Like I just can't wait to see what happens in season 2. But Jim, immediately hearing his wife's name, he's like out of there. He's asked Donna to watch his kids while he goes and tries to see if everything's okay with Tabitha. So we'll see where that goes in season 2, but that scene was just it brought some memories there. It really did. And then last we have Boyd and Sara. So they get out of their tent. They're back on their trek. But immediately waking up from the night before with all, whoever was moving that tent around, like aggressively moving them around inside the tent. When they get out of the tent, there's all these spider webs. Not like a little bit. Like they're in full thing of spider webs. And Boyd's like, I don't know where we're going, but let's follow the direction of where we saw the light that came before. But then Boyd starts to hear a voice. It's important to note that Sara doesn't hear anything. It's only Boyd that hears this voice. And he follows it. It turns out he sees Abby covered in spider webs, what looks to appear to be Abby. And she sort of grabs his arm. And then next thing you know, like all these spiders all around him. And Sara has to like take the spiders off. Like huge spiders, big spiders. And it sort of makes me think about Ethan's story when he talks about the spiders and the tears of the lakes, and then he hears a scream and the spiders come down the wall. I think there is a connection there. I don't know what it is yet, but the fact that Ethan brought up spiders and now there's spiders here, it makes me feel like there's definitely a connection. And we see Boyd slowly start to give up. He slowly starts to deteriorate. He gives up hope. He's like, this place, it feeds on their pain. It gives away, and this place is horrible. And it's Sara that actually encourages him to go and continue. And we see that Sara sees the boy in white. So now we know Victor and Ethan and Sara have all seen the boy in white. And the boy in white is talking. We actually hear his voice, like talking to Sara. We haven't heard him before, but he says, hey, come over here. You'll be safe. Come over here. So Sara encourages Boyd to follow her. Now, one thing that the boy in white says, he's like, Nathan was right about this place. And just before Sara and Boyd actually go into the tree, they do see a lighthouse. So that is important. But when he says Nathan was right about this place, one thing that Sara mentioned, I think in last episode or before that, she said Nathan thought that this place, if you try to leave, it will do stuff to keep you to stay. And we kind of see that happening. I mean, Tabitha's digging this hole, not necessarily to leave, but now the walls has come crashing in, or the ceiling caved in. They're building this tower, and now all of a sudden it's storming. Boyd and Sara out in the woods trying to look for a place out, and all these things keep trying to stop them from going, and the storm as well, and the spider webs. So there may be something to what he's saying, and there may be something to what Nathan thought, and maybe we'll get a backstory more on why Nathan thought if you try to leave this place, we'll try to keep you here. But Boyd ends up in a tree. They go in the tree, and he's just kind of stuck there. We don't know where Sara went, if she did climb in after him. It's a faraway tree. Remember what Victor told us. You can get stuck there. It can take you different places. It's just different. You don't know where you're going to end up. So I even think if Julie goes back into that tree she went into the night Colony House was attacked, I don't know if she would end up in that cellar. She might end up somewhere different. I think it changes each time. So that was a pretty big moment for Boyd. We'll see where that leads him in season 2 as well as Sara. One small other story is small but important, and that is Fatima and Ellis. Fatima is kind of concerned. She's like, how do we know, we're not the same people anymore? I think I talked about that last episode. Not sure because these episodes are running together. But she's saying we're not the same people. How do we know that we'll be able to live in the real world again after coming back from this hellscape? And Ellis takes her to the spot where he first originally saw her when she was driving around town looking, trying to find a place to stay and everything like that, or figure out where she was. And he brings her in, and he says, this is when I first saw you, and no matter where we are, it doesn't matter if it's here, out in the real world, you're my home, and I hope I'm your home. I want to be your home. And ask her to marry him. So, yeah, they're engaged. So that was a sweet story, at least for this season finale, of them getting engaged. Nice young couple. Their whole lives ahead of them. So exciting. But yeah, all in all, I think this was a really good episode. I think it was a good season finale. I am curious about that bus, okay? Because a bus can hold a lot of people. Once again, I need you guys to be more consistent with the extras. Just keep the same people. Just hire them on. I need to see the same people. I'm tired of seeing random faces every time. This is a small town. No one's leaving. No one's going. It needs to be the same people consistently, okay? That's my only, like, negative with the show. And it's small, but it's annoying. Every time I'm like, wait, I've never seen this person before. Just have them background. Just have the people. They don't even have to have talking work. I just need to see consistency there. I think that's pretty much everything. One of the things I liked when Jade was like, everyone help out. Whoever doesn't help is getting a night in the box. And Donna's like, no one's getting a night in the box. Like, shut up or whatever. But the song at the end that plays is Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere by Neil Young. And that's when the bus is arriving. So I don't know if it means like implying you guys are nowhere. We can't even say what city or town this is because it's nowhere, which would be very depressing. So yeah, we'll see where that bus arrives, what that brings. It's going to bring more characters. They got to step it up. They always got to include more characters, and you can't just do that willy-nilly. So the bus is here. We're going to meet some new people in season 2. Can't wait to cover it. I'll be back tomorrow. Love to hear from you guys. Host at theverdictsin.com. That's HOST at theverdictsin. Be sure to send me any of your theories, feedback, whatever it is. If I missed something or didn't miss something, let me know. Love to hear from you. Until then, I'm Nicole. Have a good one. Bye.